MMA Boxing Talk here, coming at you with another video. I want to put out a video, a prediction video for Renan Barao versus Jeremy Stephens, which is taking place this Sunday. UFC Fight Night 91, UFC Vegas. It's a free card in Vegas. I think it's at the Mandalay Bay. That doesn't really matter. Anyway, this is it's a compelling fight, because it's an interesting fight. You got Renan Barao, who's a bantamweight, a 135er, moving up to 145 to fight Jeremy Stephens, who, Jeremy Stephens recently moved down to 145. So now Jeremy Stephens fought at 155 basically his whole career and has more recently moved down to fight at 145. So you got a guy moving up to 145 and you got a guy moving down to 145. So, Renan Barao should look quicker. He should look faster, I believe, in this fight. And Jeremy Stephens will definitely have more power. Absolutely, a lot more power. Now, Renan Barao, he's he's got power, but he didn't even have ridiculous power at bantamweight. He definitely had very aggressive. He throws reckless combinations that he really does. But he was very successful. At bantamweight, he went on a 30-fight win streak. Renan Barao, 33 wins, 3 losses, 8 wins by KO, 15 by submission, and 10 by decision. So not really a knockout artist. You know what I mean? Had some knockouts, had some finishes, but more TKOs than anything else. Now, he lost 2 by KO, or TKO, sorry, to TJ Dillashaw, and he lost one by decision. That was early on in his career. I believe it was his first fight. Now, if we look at Jeremy Stephens, they both have the same amount of fights, 36 fights. Jeremy Stephens has quite a bit more losses. Now, mind you, Jeremy Stephens also fighting against much bigger men, fighting out at lightweight. And Jeremy Stephens, not necessarily a big lightweight, maybe an average size lightweight at the most. Now, Jeremy Stephens, let me see here. He's had it was around 2014, I want to say, he moved to 145, and he hasn't had a whole lot of success, but at the same time he's fought very, very, solid fighters at 145. He lost to Cub Swanson, unanimous decision. Charles Oliveira, who's a submission specialist, he lost, but he didn't get submitted. He went the decision. He beat Dennis Bermudez, finished him with a beautiful flying knee, and most recently, last December, he lost to Max Holloway, unanimous decision. It was a scrappy fight. It's tough to go the decision with Max Holloway. He's a very dangerous guy. Max Holloway stopped Cub Swanson, and he's a very dangerous guy, Max Holloway. He's 5'11". He's a he's a huge 145er. Now, Jeremy Stephens, 24 wins, 12 losses. Like I said, a lot more losses. Like I said, though, against bigger men, he's got 16 by knockout, 3 submissions, and 5 wins by decision. And he's only been KO'd or stopped once. He's been submitted 3 times, and he's lost 8 out of his 12 losses are by decision. So, and now I want to go and look at some of the decision losses Jeremy Stephens has, and against solid fighters. Now, most recently, Max Holloway, one of the best featherweights in the division. I don't know if Renan Barao could beat a Max Holloway right now, or ever. Jeremy Stephens, he has he went the decision with Max Holloway, but he didn't come up victorious. Went the decision with Charles Oliveira, a submission specialist, dangerous submission artist. Cub Swanson, always a dangerous guy, puts it all on the line, looks for the KO. Well, Jeremy Stephens went the distance with Cub Swanson. Jeremy Stephens also went the distance with Donald Cowboy Cerrone, dangerous fighter, reckless. He'll put it all on the line. He'll take a few punches to give a few. Jeremy Stephens, he came up short, but he went the distance with Cerrone. He went the distance with Anthony Pettis. When Anthony Pettis was knocking everybody out. When Anthony Pettis was Showtime Pettis, Jeremy Stephens went the distance with him. Also, Melvin Gillard back in 2010, went the distance. It was a split decision, so it was a very close fight. And also, Jeremy Stephens against Anthony Pettis, like I mentioned, that was also a split decision. So, Jeremy Stephens knows how to not get KO'd by dangerous guys, bigger, guys that are big, dangerous guys. So now he's fighting Renan Barao, who is dangerous enough. 8 KOs out of 33 wins. I mean, it's all right. But Jeremy Stephens, he's much bigger. He's 3 inches taller. He's a thicker, stronger guy. And I don't. He seems to do the weight cut pretty decently. At 145, believe it or not. And Renan Barao, he's gonna obviously feel great at 145. He's had tough weight cuts at 135. There's no doubt about that. But it's a very interesting fight. I'm definitely taking Jeremy Stephens in this one though to win it. I feel he hits much harder. He might not be as quick as Renan Barao, but Renan Barao doesn't have pinpoint knockout accuracy. He's very reckless, and he doesn't have the greatest striking defense. On the feet, his defense isn't that good. And Jeremy Stephens looks for the KO. He's got a lot of power. I think he's going to be able to eat some of Renan Barao's not so accurate shots. I hate to bash the guy, but he's not pinpoint accuracy. Now, obviously, Jeremy Stephens is not as quick as a TJ Dillashaw, but he's got a hell of a lot more power. And, Renan Barao, he's fought a lot of smaller guys in his career where he's normally the bigger guy. In the past 5-6 years, at least, the only guy that was much bigger than him was Michael McDonald, who was 5'9". Jeremy Stephens is also 5'9". Renan Barao submitted McDonald, but Jeremy Stephens is a different animal than Michael McDonald. Totally different fighter. But anyway, this fight is going to be an interesting one, though. Renan Barao is a tough guy. We saw that in the TJ Dillashaw fights. He doesn't go down easy. But I think Jeremy Stephens is going to find a way to win this fight with his power, just with his ability, with his experience of fighting bigger men, more dangerous guys than Renan Barao at a higher weight class. I just think it's going to be too much for Renan Barao, and I'm not sure if he's going to stop Renan Barao. I know he can because he knocked out RDA cold once, but I truly believe he's going to find a way to win this one. It's going to be either a stoppage, a late stoppage, or he might win a unanimous decision. But either way, TKO or decision, Jeremy Stephens is going to win this one. That's just my opinion. That's truly what I believe, and I'm definitely taking Jeremy Stephens over Renan Barao this Sunday. Can't miss it. It's a free card, and that's the co-main event, so you can't miss it. The main event, Cody No Love Garbrandt versus Thomas Almeida. That's a huge fight. You can't miss that one as well. 2 undefeated bantamweights going at it. Huge, promising fighters. They're young. They're both 24 years of age, and they're both knockout guys with high knockout ratios. That's the main event. But Jeremy Stephens is going to beat Renan Barao. That's my opinion, and that's the co-main event. But if you like the video, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter at MMA Boxing Talk 1. Peace.